Ryan, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm just grabbing me a lime off the tree.
And we have something that'll really grab you, a new episode of Garden Time.
Welcome to Garden Time. You know, it is after Labor Day, so for a lot of us, that's the beginning of fall. But there is still plenty of time to go grab stuff out of your garden.
And it's also the time to go grab some new plants at your local independent garden center.
Coming up in the show today, we'll be down at the Lan Su Chinese Gardens, and we'll show you how they keep their structures looking just as good as their plants.
We'll also be showing you how to arrange the flowers that are in your garden.
But coming up first, how to certify your backyard habitat. Well, I'm out here at the private residence of Faith. And Faith, you have this beautiful garden and you have a backyard habitat certification. So what inspired you to get your yard certified?
Well, even before I was aware of the program, I became more interested in plants in a temperate zone. I grew up in Hawaii, and so it was always about tropical plants. And at the time, we really didn't have very much in terms of landscaping here. It was just 2 camellias flanking a porch and lawn, and I ripped out the lawn. We're faced with a wildlife situation where people don't understand. We've already displaced too many animals.
So you've taken out, the camellia, and you've taken out a lot of the lawn. So what was the next steps to kind of help attract that wildlife to your yard?
Well, I couldn't afford to buy all the plants I needed. So I started out with 1-gallon pots that lined the driveway until they were of a size where they could grow large enough for the landscape. But in addition to that, I also introduced to the garden plants that actually are ornamentals, but they are also, they serve wildlife as well.
And so this has been, a process you've been working on over many years, which is nice because it doesn't have to be a full, redo all at once.
This is true.
And there's lots of elements that you put in.
It's
so
true. We're
going to go meet with Bethany over in your garden and kind of talk about some of the steps about what you can do in your yard to create this perfect habitat. So now we're back in the garden. I'm with Bethany, and Bethany, you're with the Backyard Habitat Certification Program. So what is your job with them?
Yeah, I'm one of the habitat technicians, and so when someone signs up for the program, they get an hour-long visit with one of the technicians. And so we're assigned by geography based on where you live, and we'll come out and walk your yard with you and talk all about the things you can do to improve your habitat.
So for our viewers that are interested in getting their yard certified, what are some of the steps that they need to do to get that certification?
Yeah, first I'd say check out the website. It's backyardhabitats.org. And there you'll learn about the 5 categories of the certification criteria and see if it's something for you. But basically, in this visit, we're looking for native plants from the Portland plant list. So that's locally native plants here to Portland area, as well as noxious weeds. We'll look at storm water. So when it rains, where's the water go on your property? We'll look at chemical use and pesticides, and talk a little bit about that, how to do things in the least toxic way possible. And then wildlife stewardship. That's things like bird baths and bird houses, bat houses, those kinds of things. Okay,
and there's a lot of benefits to creating this habitat. It's not just for the wildlife itself, but there are multiple other benefits.
Yeah, there's a lot of great things that come out of this. So drawing the birds into your property, everyone suddenly becomes a birder. So that's really fun, and watching your yard come to life because there's so much more diversity. But in addition to that, the native plants are more adapted to our conditions here, so they're lower maintenance, they have less water needs, and once they're established, they can really hold their own in these heat waves we've been having, and Faith's garden can prove that. So it's been great.
There's a lot of processes to that, which can be maybe a little overwhelming to the viewer, but it doesn't have to be that way, does it?
It doesn't. So having that site visit from the technician gets you started with the basic information you need to proceed. And we're only looking for a yard to have 5% of their area focused on native plantings in order to be a naturescape. most people have a corner, a side yard, something that they can devote to that 5% native area.
And then you give them a packet when they show up.
Exactly. So everyone gets a resource packet like this, and inside there are plant posters, there's coupons for native plants to local nurseries, coupons for books, as well as handouts, just a little bit about every topic we have so you can really get yourself going in the right direction.
And this is a process.
It is. We give you a certification in progress sign, and this is really helpful because it lets the neighbors know you're doing something. Sometimes a project looks messy before it looks really nice, and so this gives you a way to let the neighbors know what you're doing, and when you get certified you get a metal sign that says backyard certified.
Yeah, so there's so much that we can do.
Yeah.
There's a ton of information on your website. So for more information on the backyard certification process, make sure you go to their website, or you can go to gardentime.tv. So Bethany, we appreciate all the information on how we can create this certification process and this habitat for our own yard. So thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Welcome to Blooming Junction, where it's easy to connect with nature. At Blooming Junction, you'll find beautiful, healthy plants, good, fresh food, and a place to regain peace and calm in your life. We have an unsurpassed collection of unique and distinctive plants and the expertise to help any gardener be successful. And we feature blooming advantage plants. Come check out Blooming Junction for an inspiring experience in the garden or in the kitchen. Blooming Junction, offering quality plants for beautiful gardens.
Join Capital Subaru for the Fall Garden Fest, Saturday, September 18th from 11 to 3. Buy your fall plants and flowers. Enjoy giveaways and refreshments. Ryan and Judy will be there too. It's at the Capital Subaru Pavilion just off the Parkway. We'll see you there.
Every year, trees fall or break, causing property damage, power outages, and injury.
Now is the time for Bartlett Tree Experts and Collier Arbor Care to get your trees ready for the extreme conditions ahead.
Our free consultation will help to spot the signs of potentially hazardous trees.
We can help address problems before they occur. Whether it's trees or shrubs, we can help you get a healthy and beautiful garden.
Collier Arbor Care and Bartlett Tree Experts, providing environmentally safe tree care since 1907.
Find everything you need for fall at Al's Garden and Home.
I'm down here at French Prairie Perennials. I'm with Rick. Rick, it's been a long, hot summer.
It has.
And our conifers kind of took a beating this summer.
Absolutely.
And we talked earlier in this year, right after the burn, that we should just kind of let them be. But now, we're a couple months past that. So what do we need to be doing for these burned conifers now?
What you want to do now is check and see the areas that are burned. You want to go down and look and see, how much damage there really is. Now, for example, and the reason you want to wait it out, and this is why we tell everybody to wait it out, is this is Picea pungens nimitz, which is a dwarf Colorado blue spruce. You can see here where we lost all our needles, where this got burned.
Right.
Now, the reason we wait is because we want to see if it's going to set new buds, which it's doing right here. Okay, this is all new growth. So this tells me that this is healthy and it's going to come back, it's going to regenerate, and it's going to be fine. So I don't want to take those off. So that's why you don't jump to conclusions and just, when you see all the burn, to just automatically take it off.
We wanted to really get in there and kind of take that unsightly stuff off. But had we done that, we would have been left with it.
No, and we wouldn't know, because we would have taken these branches off, and then we would have had, we would have lost some of that new growth. So,
and then the cedars, this, looks like a lot of the cedars I have in my yard that got a lot of burn internally. So what do we do with something like this?
And primarily they're going to get burned on the south or west side, because that's where it was the hottest. And that's kind of what happened here. On the back side here, there's no burn. So what you can do on this is just, again, wait it out, because this is all flushing out new growth, and eventually this is all just going to get covered up and you're not going to notice it. But if it's just bugging the heck out of you, just go ahead and go through, and you can cut this off. You can either use some hedge shears to prune this, because they're really pretty. This is a western red cedar. They're really pretty prunable. So you can go ahead and prune this and shape it if you want to, and get rid of some of the dead burned stuff, or you can just kind of go through with your pruners and just kind of cut some of this off. And this particular plant turns a bright orange and red in the wintertime anyway, so when that gets to that point, a lot of this is going to kind of disappear by the time we get there. So that's why you don't want to cut off too much of it, because the new growth is the part, or the tips, that turn red, and that's really one of the part of the attractions of the plant. So,
and then we have a tree like this that has some pretty significant damage in here. So what do we do with something like this?
Well, the advantage of this plant is it is one of the few deciduous conifers. This is a metasequoia called Northern Light. And if we didn't have this severe damage on the backside and we just had some burn, this would all, like a maple or any other deciduous plant, this would all go off, fall off in the fall and in the winter and regenerate in the spring, and you wouldn't know anything happened to it.
Right.
But the problem is we got a lot of die off on the backside where it got severely burned. Now, the test for this, my test for this is if you go through and you look at this, it looks dead. I'm going to go ahead and do this. And if it's pliable, then I don't want to take it off. But obviously, it's just snapped off and it's dead. And you can see that there's no green or anything, and it's all
right.
dry on the inside. So this is all dead. So this potentially could be a total loss because it's going to take a long time for this growth to regenerate. But one thing you can do is plant it against a wall or something, and on the good side, you won't even notice this. But because this is all dead, I'm going to go through and cut all this out.
Okay.
When you prune, you're generating new growth. So potentially we could generate some new growth in here where there are some live and new buds that would eventually fill in. But it's going to take a long time because this plant doesn't grow very fast. So you've got quite an investment in this one, waiting for it to recover.
And then we have some, other conifers as we're kind of going into fall and winter. Things that maybe didn't get burned, but there's still some care and some maintenance that we need to do with these.
Well, a lot of calls that I get from people is particularly on the tighter foliage plants like this Hinoki cypress or this Cryptomeria twinkle toes. When they have really tight foliage, they don't get a lot of light on the inside. So you'll open this up and you'll see a lot of dead. Well, that's just normal.
Okay.
That just happens because, like I say, it's not getting a lot of light in there and a lot of air circulation. So you're going to get some die-off way back in here. But that's okay. Just clean it out. And if you want to, and it'll all be fine. But has nothing to do with the health of the plant, or it has nothing to do with whether it got burned or not. It's just a normal part.
And then what about pruning on conifers for going into fall and winter? Do we want to do some selective pruning?
Particularly on your dwarfs, yeah, because anytime that you're going to develop a really strong central leader on a dwarf, you want to get rid of that because it's going to get bigger than what you want it to be. So this is Macapin, which is a eastern white pine, and I've got 3 very prominent leaders that are shooting up that I don't want. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these leaders, I'm going to go all the way down to the crotch, and you want to try and hide your cut. So I'm going to go all the way down here, take that off, and then on this one I'm going to go way down here and take that off, and on this third one I'm going to do the same thing. And now I've got more of the shape that I want in this plant. You can't see hardly see where I made the cuts.
And fall is the time to be doing this.
Right, fall's a good time to do this, right, exactly.
And then what about, other care as far as like fertilizer? We've been dumping a lot of water on our yard too. What do we need to know about watering and fertilizer?
The problem is everybody's natural instinct when it's hot to really want to water. And the problem with dwarfs, conifers, is that they don't use a lot of water. So if you give them a good deep watering in the morning, leave them for the rest of the day. Now you can go and spray them, with a little bit of water to create the humidity and kind of cool them off when it's 118 degrees. Right. But
and then you'd mentioned something, fertilize too.
Yeah, you want to fertilize in the fall. I would use a Osmocote or a time release or something close to that, and do it now and then do it again mid-spring, and that's all you need to do for the rest of the year. But that's the basic thing, is that make sure that you don't overwater, because that's the thing that's I've seen most this year, is we're having a lot of die-off from overwatering.
Okay. So these are all, great tips on what we're supposed to be doing with our conifers this time of year. So for more information on this, make sure you come down and talk to Rick and the staff down here at French Prairie Perennials, or you can go to gardentime.tv and we'll click you over to their site. And so Rick, we appreciate all the information. There's lots we can be doing out in our yard now that it's starting to cool off a little bit. So thanks for the info, and you can go to gardentime.tv.
Garden Time is brought to you by Portland Nursery, a passion for plants, a nursery for plant people.
At Portland Nursery, we believe that gardening is a creative endeavor that enriches our experience, enlivens the spaces around us, and provides a safe haven for the mind. Portland Nursery has everything you need to make your space feel unique, inviting, and exciting. From houseplants and hedges to trees, tools, veggies, and herbs, our selection is always growing and changing, just like you. Come visit us today at 50th and Stark, 90th and Division.
Join Capital Subaru for the Fall Garden Fest, Saturday, September 18th from 11 to 3. Buy your fall plants and flowers. Enjoy giveaways and refreshments. Ryan and Judy will be there too. It's at the Capital Subaru Pavilion just off the Parkway. We'll see you there.
Fall in the Northwest is
the best time of year to plant, with warmer soils and cooler evenings.
a time to spend with family and friends. Fall is a time to celebrate.
To decorate.
And to enjoy the colors that are only found here in our area.
Fall is a time to come to Garland Nursery.
And let us show you all that fall can be.
Garland Nursery, inspiring beautiful and bountiful gardens.
Little Baja is your source for a whole lot of terracotta and concrete too. From bird baths and benches to Buddhas, bears, and fountains, plus the exclusive Baja chimney. We have an amazing variety of the finest in terracotta and concrete containers. Come check out our selection of statuary for any garden theme or setting. So for something for the garden, deck, or patio, come see us at Little Baja on East Burnside in Portland. Find us on Facebook too.
Find everything you need for fall at Al's Garden and Home.
I'm with Jeremy today from Pollinate Flowers in Newburgh. And so Jeremy, we are surrounded by cut flowers.
Yes.
And that is your business there. A couple weeks ago we were at your farm. So that is just really cool to kind of put it all together now and give us tips about how we can make beautiful arrangements at our own home. So what do we start with? How do we get the flowers to be able to last long in an arrangement?
Well, proper time for cutting is important. Cut in the early mornings. The flowers on the plant are very hydrated in the mornings, and so they'll have the longest chance of, the best chance of lasting a long time if they're fully hydrated. There's also, you know, cutting the blooms at the correct stage, so you don't want to harvest them when they're too old. Even though they look beautiful on the plant, usually when they're fully blown open, they will age pretty quickly after you cut them. Remember, after you cut the flower off the plant, the flower starts dying, so you want to give it as long of its life as it can as it slowly fades. With zinnias and rudbeckias, though, there is a little tip for knowing when to cut. Okay. It's called the wiggle test. So you just grab about 8 inches below, and you can see how this one is just really floppy, even though the bloom is really beautiful. Same with this, really floppy. These are not going to last very long in your vase. They're just going to wilt. So you can see how this one is nice and strong. This as well.
Great test.
So those are to let you know when to cut.
And then put them directly into water. Bring a bucket with you maybe to the garden?
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you're cutting, cut at an angle. Just think about all of the veins in a flower as little straws, like they run vertically up the stem, and there's a little suction. So if you cut flat and then you put it in a bucket, that suction is going to suck to the bottom of the bucket, and it won't hydrate properly. So cut at a 45-degree angle to make sure that it can continually drink.
And I see you have lots of greenery, and so I think that's so important because I think we want our arrangements to maybe look natural, so maybe get greenery also.
Oh yeah, I am a huge fan of greenery. I love my arrangements to look like a garden and not just focus on the flowers, because in the garden there's greenery everywhere on the plant, and so incorporating that into the arrangement really gives it that natural garden style feel to it.
Okay, so now the next step is a container, and I see that you have chicken wire and not florist foam.
Yes, chicken wire is an old school way of giving support to your blooms. Pre-floral foam, this is what was used all the time. And so there's a big movement in the floral industry to move back to some of these old reusable ways of designing. And so I've been focusing on using the chicken wire to do that.
Excellent. And then where do we start?
So you find your vessel. It works best in an opaque vase. A clear vase isn't really the prettiest with that. And so then you would find whatever flower. You can either start with your greenery or with your flower, but you want to kind of designate the dimensions of your arrangement. So.
And do we have to know like where we're going to arrange it, where we're going to show this off?
Yeah, it would be good to know if you're going to have it like as a centerpiece, then you're going to want to design so people can see it from all angles. But if it's going against the wall, then just have all of your blooms facing towards the front, and then you can, you know, fill in the back with some greenery, but nothing that's going to be lost on the back.
All right, so we're going to play here for just a few seconds, and we'll be right back. Well, I think it's a masterpiece, Jeremy, and in such a quick time. It was just a few minutes for all you at home. And so give us some tips for all the people at home that would like maybe to try this.
Yeah, I mean, literally so much of this is just stuff you can find around your yard. This is garden sage, this is, you know, vine maples, your, you know, zinnias, this is feverfew, which also is very similar to chamomile. So just any flowers that you have in your yard, just feel free to like cut them and, you know, put them in water and let them hydrate, and, you know, you can have a beautiful arrangement in no time at all.
And you know, I love that it's covered all the way down. You don't really even see the edge of the container, so you really have to kind of look at all different levels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like the containers to be kind of part of the arrangement. I don't like the line and then flowers, you know, so bringing that greenery down to cover the edges really brings it as a whole instead of being two separate things.
Definitely. And so if this is too much, I mean, I don't have a lot of flowers in my garden at any time, so where can we find you to make creations like this?
Yeah, you can find us on pollinateflowers.com. We can order arrangements there, and then we also have a shop in downtown Newburgh at 308 South College Street, where we have a flower bar, so you can come in and choose your own stems and do a build your own bouquet type scenario as well.
Oh, that sounds a lot of fun. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Well, we've had a really good time with Jeremy, and so if you have any other questions, please go to gardentime.tv and we'll click you over to their website. Thanks so much. It's just lovely.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming.
Garden Time is brought to you by Capital Subaru, your way on the Parkway.
Welcome to the brand new Capital Subaru.
We've taken a big step forward.
We've built one of the most unique Subaru dealerships in the U.S.
And we know you're going to love it.
There's so much to see and do here, like shop at our exclusive pet store.
And unwind in one of our amazing new lounge spaces.
Or race through the obstacle course at our new dog park.
This place is pretty stinking cool.
It's time to discover again, with over 72,000 square feet just for you.
Capital Subaru, your way on the Parkway.
Is your garden getting tired? Don't let your garden fizzle out because of the summer heat. Stop by Wavra Farms for a refresher in summer color. We carry a great selection of plants that love the summer. Give your garden the splash of color that it deserves. Your outdoor entertaining will be more enjoyable when you are surrounded by beautiful plants, wonderful flowers, and great fragrance. Let us show you what a summer garden should be. Wavra Farms, just east of Salem, off Highway 22 at the Joseph Street exit.
Since 1929, Grimm's Fuel has powered great gardens around our area. With our comprehensive composting and yard debris services, we can apply quality garden mulch, compost, and blended soils with our experienced crews and trucks, including our landscape rock and bark products as well. We are proud of our industry-leading state-of-the-art composting facilities. We also can take care of your fuel oil and firewood needs. Grimm's Fuel, building great gardens since 1929.
To bring the extraordinary colors of fall to your landscape, you need to come to a place that offers more than the ordinary. At Garland Nursery, we love fall. From brilliant yellows to vibrant reds, we have one of the Northwest's largest selections of Japanese maples. At Garland Nursery, we also have a colorful selection of hardy plants, so your home can be as beautiful as the season. Come visit us and see how we can help you make your season extraordinary. Garland Nursery, growing beyond the ordinary.
We're at Lan Su Chinese Garden today, and you know, we always come with Garden Time to see all the beautiful plants, but today we're going to talk about more specifically the stonework here. Well, I'm with Gabe Weiss, and so you're really a stonemason by trade.
I am, yeah. I grew up doing a little bit of masonry with my dad, and then when I left home and kind of set out on my own, I started finding masonry jobs here and there, and in the last 5-6 years I've started learning how to do the Chinese masonry. Wow. And going over to China, learning from folks in China how to use the traditional methods. been making repairs at the Lan Su Chinese Garden and also up at the Sun Yat-sen Garden in Vancouver, Canada.
And you know, I could see, like you were talking about this one pavilion behind us that has some work that's needed, but we kind of compared that with some other work that's already done. So it really is still beautiful and still so special, and just in the, like you said, traditionally.
Yeah, so you can see with this pavilion here, as I was pointing out before, the kind of cracks that happen periodically. Those cracks correspond with these kind of black tile pieces that form part of the skeleton of the spines, and they're fit with a male and a female end to end. And then these structures have been painted with you know, the sort of paint that we're familiar with, kind of an acrylic paint. The problem is the masonry, because it overlies timbers, and the timbers expand and contract with moisture, the masonry can't really hold itself up in the air, so small cracks inevitably form, and then water is able to enter into the masonry. It pools, it saturates the clay elements, and then when it freezes, those clay elements spall and they expand quite a bit. So we've repaired the worst structures, the four-sided hall, the Hall of Brocade Clouds, and then the painted boat in Misty Rain over here, and then the Scholars Hall, which you can't really see, it's more secluded and set off.
So Gabe, it's not just the structures that you repair traditionally, as you work on the pathways too. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Mosaic Walkways here are beautiful. Anyone who's been to the garden, walked around, they vary from one area to the other. So the pattern over here, the Seven Suns Walkway, is very different from the plum blossoms and cracked ice that you see in the Scholars Courtyard. And they consist of small pebbles that originally would have been set directly into a bed of sand mix and then topped with a topping mix, which would be Portland cement and sand. Over time, individual stones will get knocked out, or smaller areas will fall apart, and then it's a bit of a trick to set a new stone where there's one missing. I'll use chisels, but I'll also use diamond blade tools, battery operated diamond blade tools, to remove the mortar to make enough space, and then I'll find a stone that'll fit, and I'll bed that and you know, try to match the original sand mix there.
Oh, excellent. Well, whenever we come here, we always just admire everything here, and it's really the craftsmen of people like you, and then the gardeners here, all the people that work on the horticulture end. So really, it's always interesting to come here, and we always have to remember to notice all of the buildings, everything around it, because it's symbolic, but it's also that craftsmanship that goes into a building of this kind of a garden of this kind of expanse. So please, when next time you're down here at Lan Su, make sure that you do pay attention to all of the garden, and you'll have a wonderful experience. Thanks so much, Gabe.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for watching Garden Time today, and don't forget, next Saturday is the big event down at Capital Subaru in Salem.
And this is your chance to come visit Judy and I. We'll be down there for the entire event, so come down and say hello.
And for more information about that event or anything you saw in today's show, please go to gardentime.tv. Ryan and I thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week here on Garden Time.
The proceeding was a paid program of the Guston Creative Group and its sponsors.